Welcome. Today we're doing a deep dive into, well, a series of events that really unfolded starting April 16th, 2025, right here in Alexander County.
Hmm.
It began with a domestic disturbance call involving a Chancellor, Timothy Johnson.
Right, but this isn't just a local incident, is it?
Exactly. It connects directly back to a really tragic, fatal police pursuit
Hmm?
that was in Catawba County, September 2023, also involving Johnson.
Yeah, we've been looking through the incident analysis mainly.
And our goal here is, to piece together what happened, the legal side of things, and sort of the bigger picture, what stands out and why it matters.
Okay, so let's start with April 16th. The call came in early, around 3:20 a.m. Alexander County Sheriff's Office responded to Lale Lane.
Lale Lane, yeah, 227 Lale Lane, that's in the Bethlehem community.
Correct. And when they got there, a woman and a child were already outside the residence. Johnson, however, had barricaded himself inside.
Okay, so a standoff situation right away.
Pretty much. Taylorsville police arrived, Alexander County EMS too. Standard procedure for these things.
Now, there was some confusion initially about how long this lasted, wasn't there? Some early reports made it sound very quick.
There was. But the official account puts the standoff at roughly 2.5 hours. He was finally apprehended around 5:30 a.m.
And there was damage.
Yes, damage to a vehicle outside and also to the inside of the home. Johnson himself got hurt, a cut from broken glass, but nothing life-threatening.
So he needed medical attention first.
Right. They took him to Fry Regional Medical Center, got him treated, and then he was transferred into Hickory Police Department custody.
And the charges from that incident in Alexander County.
Pending charges are damage to personal property and resisting, obstructing, and delaying a public officer. Standard resisting charge, basically.
Okay. But as we said, this links back. Let's talk about the Catawba County incident, September 9th, 2023.
Yeah, this is the much more serious background. Hickory PD tried to stop Johnson, who was on a motorcycle. The reason? Careless and reckless driving, plus no license plate visible.
And he didn't stop.
No. It turned into a high-speed chase. Reports mention speeds hitting around 100 miles per hour.
Wow.
The pursuit ended tragically at the intersection of Highway 70 SW and 13th Street in Hickory. The pursuing officer's vehicle collided with a van.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And the occupants of that van, 38-year-old Cynthia Nicole Lale and her 12-year-old son, Michael Lale, were killed in the crash.
Just devastating. And Johnson?
The allegation is that he fled the crash scene on foot. He wasn't apprehended immediately.
When was he found?
He actually surrendered 10 days later on September 19th, 2023.
And the charges related to that pursuit and the fatalities?
He's facing 2 counts of felony flee-loot arrest with a motor vehicle causing death. There was some initial chatter. I think the ACSO release mentioned second-degree murder.
I saw that too, but the news reports consistently stick to the felony fleeing causing death charges.
Right. And those charges seem aligned with the specific North Carolina statute, 2141.5, subsection B1, which deals directly with fatalities during a felony flee to elude. His next court date for those is actually coming up soon, May 19th, 2025.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. That statute, NCGS section 2141.5, what does it really mean?
Well, fleeing from an officer is usually a misdemeanor, but it becomes a felony under certain conditions. Subsection B1 specifically kicks in if someone dies as a proximate result of the flown vehicle.
And factors like high speed play a role.
Absolutely. Things like speeding over 15 miles per hour above the limit, reckless driving, causing property damage over $1,000, or causing injury or death. These make it a felony. Given the speeds and the 2 deaths, he's almost certainly facing 2 Class E felonies.
Class E felony in North Carolina, what does that translate to penalty-wise?
It depends heavily on the person's prior criminal record, what the state calls their prior record level. But Class E felonies carry potentially significant prison time, measured in months or years, potentially per count.
Per count, so potentially consecutive sentences.
Potentially, yes. Plus, you're looking at things like mandatory driver's license revocation, possibly permanent, and the vehicle used could be forfeited.
Okay. Serious consequences there. Now let's quickly circle back to the Alexander County charges from April 16th. The property damage and resisting.
Right, those are less severe comparatively. Damage to personal property under Statute 14160 is usually a misdemeanor. It's Class 1 if the damage is over $200, Class 2 if it's $200 or less, likely jail time up to maybe 120 days or 60 days depending.
And the resisting.
Resisting, obstructing, or delaying, that's Statute 14223. Since no officer injury was reported during the standoff, it's likely a Class 2 misdemeanor. Again, potential jail time up to 60 days.
So it's really stark when you put it all together. You have this, domestic incident, the standoff on Lale Lane.
Which then connects directly to these incredibly serious felony charges stemming from a tragic double fatality almost 2 years prior.
It really underscores how these events don't happen in isolation. The consequences ripple outwards, affecting families, communities.
And it brings up questions, too, about law enforcement procedures, responding to domestic calls versus high-speed pursuit policies. They're very different situations with different risks.
Definitely. And it highlights the need for resources. We talk about the Domestic Violence Resource Center here in Alexander County, which is vital, but it also points to the fact that often shelter itself might require traveling to another county. That's a practical challenge.
It is. Access to resources is always key.
So as we wrap this up, maybe something for our listeners to think about. When you look at this whole picture, the initial incident, the tragic history, the legal process, what does it make you consider about, say, individual responsibility, the difficult job law enforcement has, and how we work towards community safety overall?
Yeah, what further questions does this raise for you? It's complex, and the human cost is undeniable.